G'day guys and welcome to a comprehensive as a Melbourne Cup preview as I can put together, try and go through some of the key replays of the main chances, spend as much time as I can on the main chances, try not to spend too much time on the also-rans, in my opinion anyway, get a good look at what we can and give you my thoughts on each runner and their lead-up runs and kind of where they're going to be, speed map and all that sort of stuff. So getting straight into it, 2 metre rail tomorrow shouldn't make too big a difference. Does look some rain around over the next couple of days, not significant. If anything crazy happens, it may hurt the track, but otherwise you'd sort of be expecting a 4 or 5 no matter what. They'll probably still put water on the track, I'd imagine. They probably already have. I couldn't see it getting into the sort of 7, 8, 9 range, which is the only time it'd really affect the race too much. Really probably would like to see it get to a 4 or 5. Just playing the trackers are pretty even. Should be pretty even by then, you'd expect. I can't see it drying out crazily, and I couldn't see a repeat of anything like that sort of inside section being incredible like it was there a few years ago. Hopefully it's sort of fair to run on by this stage, which is it's a good chance. It should be playing pretty fair. Last year even it was up the inside a little bit, but keeping an eye on the track. From a pace perspective, we've got Runaway Engaged, who looks the leader. You've got horses like sort of Prince of Arran was put into the race yesterday. Cross Counter probably not keen to sort of roll forward. Finch maybe rolls into an on-pace position. Venga Mars kicks up. Rostopovich. There's all these horses in here. You can sort of see these all horses that have got similar early speed. Want to find a similar position, so that creates pressure. Not a great deal of speed drawn the inside, so you'd expect these horses to get shuffled back a bit as these horses roll forward. So I'm not a huge warrior about it, and it's more out here. Ace High, Yucatan, and others involved. So it's not a race of exact science, the Melbourne Cup, from a pace perspective. You expect some pressure, and if there isn't, you'd expect them to take off earlier and inject pressure. So I'm expecting pressure at some point. You're playing to a medium to fast tempo. There's no doubt about that with good pressure. So from where horses end up is not possible either. You can sort of say that a horse like Best Solution is far more capable of taking things into its own hands and putting itself into a sort of positive position close to the rail. Whereas a horse like obviously Yucatan's, going to have to sort of rely on luck or getting back or trying to find cover at somewhere in the back of something. Obviously not all horses can gain cover. It's not an exact science. Again, you've got horses like Magic Circle and Yucatan who are main chances here for mine are drawn in those positions where they're going to need luck. You factor that into the price and then basically hope for the best when it comes to the race itself. It's all a bit of a luck game, but these European horses especially do appreciate a bit of room to move, so I'm not extremely worried about the ones that have got true staying potential, like the horses like Magic Circle. I would have been far more depressed if it drew 1, 2, 3, 4 than drawing 17. So each horse is a little bit of a case-by-case situation. There's no horse that's extremely well set up from the map. I'd say Best Solution's got the best of it, drawn 6. He's got the chance to sort of be wherever he wants to be. The one mare in the race is Youngstar, draws well enough to settle in front of a few this time, hopefully. But again, sort of draws inside. There's a lot of pressure coming from across and could easily get shuffled back, which is not a drama because sort of the more it gets shuffled back, the more speed there is, the more the horse is suited. So tough map. Anyone who tries to say this horse is going to be there, this is going to be there, kidding themselves really in a race of this nature. Just saying we're expecting pressure and knowing that we're going to need a bit of luck in running with a few of the horses, especially the distance queries. So getting into it, 4 minutes is enough to worry about the setup of the race. So move around. All right, first horse we're looking at is Best Solution. This horse was extremely strong win in the Caulfield Cup. Obviously had some good form leading into the race. Now won 4 in a row. Not big margins, but this horse is definitely a quality horse. Never been tested beyond the 2,400 metres. A winner from 1,200 to 2,400 metres, pardon me, at this point. So we know it sort of runs that, but it doesn't run 3200. It's a certain query. What I want to show here, so we'll show the replay of the Caulfield Cup first. So in this race, we've got Cliffs of Moher, I'm not even going to pretend to be able to pronounce some of these horses' names. Young Star, Ace High, Ventura Storm, Venga Mask, Soundcheck, and Chestnut Coat all go around in this race, so I'll have a quick look at all of them. I won't keep going over and over them. No real point looking too much at the start. The only thing I'll sort of point out here that this is Chestnut Coat, so it's the Japanese horse that really hadn't performed on soft ground, and he's come to Australia. He's on soft ground. He's drawn wide and working. This is the winner, Best Solution, who ends up lobbing in a nice position, 1 out, 1 back. I think Cliffs of Moher back in here. Who else are we looking for? Ventura Storm's out the back on the fence. Young Star's even going to end up behind it. It's outside it currently with the light blue and the red cap. Ace High straight to the front. Is that it? I think that's it. So as we go on, nothing really happens in the first half of the race. They set an even tempo, not a fast tempo, and they get home quick. So it's a slow tempo, but it is sort of a solid tempo built into a fast tempo. They ran good time, so solid time. So again, we're sort of looking here, nothing really happening. That was Soundcheck still out wide here, so you can see it's worked throughout the entire race. Ends up getting beaten quite a fair way, but forgive performance. As a horse you can throw in exotics here for mine. We'll talk about it more. So we go on. So here goes the pressure. You've got Taj Mahal taking off, and you see that Best Solution decides, sees him out of the corner of his eye and goes with him. So this is a fair way from home. And what you've got to say, so this is Ace High, ends up dropping out from a leading position after sort of setting that tempo.
600 metres to go.
You've got Ventura Storm, Young Star. Who else is back there? Soundcheck. All left flat-footed when this sort of move takes off. So this is a real positive for me that Best Solution was able to make that early move. It obviously showed a bit of acceleration to go with Taj Mahal and put it away. Then you've got Homesman sort of had a softer run behind them, and then Cliffs of Moher, who was left a little bit flat-footed, but he gets onto the back of them pretty cheaply, and these horses have had to make longer runs. This is the horse that chimes in. This is Cliffs of Moher. Young Star back here held up. You can see already running up the back of them. I think that's Soundcheck out wide. Sorry, this is Young Star. Soundcheck out wide. Ventura Storm back on the inside with Venga Mask and Ace High dropping out. So Young Star's running into the back of them here. You could have a look at this replay a couple of times. I'll just go through them. So Best Solution sustaining that run. You can see these horses that have had softer trips look like they're going to beat it, and they can't get past him. So that's a great sign for him from going up in distance perspective. He's done a really good job, stuck on well, not weak late. Homesman was never, he's only beaten narrowly, but not dominant over him late across the line. Cliffs of Moher, comes at them, peaks on his run. He's had 2 runs in Australia, so that's a little bit of a worry for him from a further perspective. I would have liked to see him attack the line a bit better, but he is from the right camp. And then looking at the ones that are finishing off, we've got too far there. Young Star's the main one. Soundcheck behind it. Ventura Storm obviously came out and won the Moonee Valley Cup from this, so it's a good pointer to say that this form's okay. These horses held up on the inside. Venga Mask trying to get around Ace High's heels, and Young Star, who's not in the picture. It was harder to come wide here this day. The two, it looks like it was inside, was a little bit better. So this effort to finish on strongly out wide, even though you don't get to see her, is very good. So she's had the pattern against the bias and the pace. She's done a really good job. You can see she's not weak through the line. She doesn't pull up or anything like that. Neither do these 2 horses. And I do think this horse is a leading player. Best Solution. I'm not just sort of talking about how I'm going to look at these. Like when they've had a run here, I don't want to look too deeply into their form back home. I just want to see what they've done here, how they've travelled. It gives you a better guide without clouding it. I have gone back through and looked at the replays, but what they've done here seems far more important to me than what they've done in their previous lives, is what I call it back home, even though it was only 48 days ago that it ran it and won its last start. So Draws nicely, got some acceleration. The only thing it does in the Huntley box, it doesn't tick to 3,200. There's a couple of horses in the same frame as this, but this is a leading chance for mine. And the other horse that I wanted to really, I thought was good out of that race was Youngstars, just given no chance at all. Chestnut Coat was a forgive. I can throw it in for place. I thought it wasn't too bad. It was a forgive run out of that race. Obviously, Ventura Storm's come out and run well out of that race. It was a forgive. Ace High's the worry. Cliffs of Moa, the worry. Just worried. And Venture Mask I thought was a bit plain too. So I just worried about how badly Ace High went, obviously, and that Cliffs of Moa didn't hit the line as well as you'd really like to see him do, given the run he had stepping up to this distance. Yeah, okay. Cliffs of Moa, this next horse we're talking about. Caulfield Stakes is the only other. So it was the run before this run. This is the thing. So he's taken back out of the gates. He's really well. Drawn wide and sort of slipped back here in the Coolmore colours. He's back last. Another really slow tempo here. So very similar tempo to the last day. You'll see they're already off and chasing here, putting the sprint on. And this horse gets to the outside and works on quite well. Had 59 kilos here. Obviously like for age race and ran home well against the likes of Best of Lucian's come out and Ben Battle has come out and run second in the Cox Plate after this. You see through the line he's strong. So this run was a promising run. Peaked again late, which is a worry, but he did have things against him. So twice in a row he's peaked against late, but he's had things against him. So he's not a complete pen through job. He is a winner only up to 2,075 metres at this point. So for me, he's a huge query at the 32. And I'm probably just going to risk him from a win perspective and might throw him in the minor placings, third and fourth in your trifectas and first fours. Magic Circle. Very, very interesting horse. Another horse you've got to kind of forgive his previous life before he went to the Ian Williams yard. Now looking at his 2 runs since joining this stable, I'll just can't get them there. So here's... Here's the replay. So this is his first, this is the Chester handicap.
And he's now only 2 lengths off the lead. Time to study and Granby, the white jacket next. From Funmac and Hat here, and Matthew third with Who Dares wins. Magic Circle has been pulled out the grey jacket. He's running on, then Time to Study. Jukebox Jive heading down towards the last furlong. But here goes Magic Circle now sweeping through to take over. Magic Circle powers to the front, draws away from Funmac and Dubai 50. Cranberry has pulled the rabbit out of the hat here. And Magic Circle runs riot to win the 188 Bet Chester Cup from Funmac. It's very close for third between Who Dares Wins and Dubai 50.
Hang on, I'll bring all of these down. He went to Sandown after this in the Group 3 Henry Stakes.
Glory, the leader's stable companion, back in third. Montahaa is
will do. So he's
swinging right down the on Magic Circle.
Just in behind them here, third, 3 back the inside.
Study one to the bend. Weekender from the front.
He's got no trouble staying. That's the key to this horse. What you like here is that he sort of travels into the race on the bridle, which is what you like to see. You don't want to see a horse lacking acceleration. And what he does is he travels into the race while these horses are all already one batting. He's travelling nicely, as you can see.
Well now, as Frankie Dettori pulls his whip through, Magic Circle from Weekender, Red Verdant stays on, then Time to Study, on inside the final quarter mile, it's Magic Circle that now kicks on here and begins to draw away, just as he did round the Rudy, and Magic Circle looks a massively improved style coming away from Red Verdant, Weekender, Time to Study and Mount Moriah, and Magic Circle doubles up the Chester Cup, and now the Henry II Stakes.
A little bit of a question mark over the depth of his form. That's not a big query for me. I just love the way he won. So that win there was 3,264 metres. The one before it was 3,750 metres. I've got no worry about this horse sitting wide. I like to see him sort of 3 wide cover midfield. A little bit worse, no drama at all. He's going to work into the race. He's going to keep coming. The worry is that he's 166 days since that performance there. So that was the 24th of May. He looks great. Word is he's working well. Everything's great. Everything's on track. We haven't seen him run here. If I had seen him run here and he had done anything, even got back and finished off something like at Cliff's first run we just watched there, where he sort of got back to last, was pace affected and run 4th or 5th, I'd be in love with him. Just that question mark over whether he's ready to rumble. If he is, I can't see him doing anything but running well. The owner's obviously flamboyant and bullish about its chances. Can't really factor that in, but it is, it is a factor that the horse has obviously travelled well and doing well, because otherwise you'd think he'd be a little bit more sheepy, surely. So Magic Circle, a huge player for mine. He's going to get back. I'm not worried about his gait, and I think he's going to finish off strong. He's got the attributes I love. A bit of acceleration. He can cruise into a race and then sprint off that and maintain it, which is what you want to see for mine. As I'm just sort of kind of repeating myself, but yeah, he's got a lot of positives about him. Magic Circle. Chestnut Coat we've already looked at. I did have his replay there of his 10-0 show run, which is probably worth watching. He's a one-paced horse, and I don't have the replay here. I added him before, so there's no really point to go through. He sits sort of midfieldish. He whacks away. He keeps coming. That is 3,200 metres at their highest level, and that is good form for a race of this nature. So how far was he beaten? Not far at all. I think he was beaten about a length and a half or something like that. 1.8 lengths. The run before that was also good, and then he came out and dropped in distance before coming here. So he's 146 days before that run in Melbourne. You can see that he's never seen a soft track in his career. He's run into a soft track. He's run into a wide without cover position, and he now draws gate 4. I'm happy to throw him in the lower end of them. Sort of, even I wouldn't be crazy, because I think he's going to be big odd, throwing him in 2nd, 3rd and 4th. I doubt he can win, but 2nd, 3rd and 4th. For exotic players, he could throw some big value in if he improves as he possibly can. We've got Muntahaa here, last start Ebor winner, 73 days since then. He's a winner from 2400 to 27 and 87, which I believe is the Ebor. So we'll go back and look at it. It's an important lead up. Get rid of that. Here's the Ebor Muntahaa. So just
now he's 3rd from Whiskey Sour in a purple and yellow jacket, mid-division to Fun Mac Mountain Bell, buried away at last of the 20 runners, and they've already moved past halfway in the Sky Bet. Ebor. So Sleeves moves up to press the pace. At the other end of the field, Time to Study is the overall back mark. Saunter with a green cap is also in rear. So
he slots, so he sits wide, allows him to find his feet, and slots in 3 wide, and I'm almost certain he's got cover for the whole race. So he slotted in here. 20 to 1 he was in this race. So here he is. Strides into the race.
Spread the eye of the needle. He's won from the right. He's closing in. Down to the last quarter mile. Frankie in front on Weekender. Muntahaa on the near side coming to challenge. Then See the Line, Crowned Eagle. Stratum has had a torrid run in behind. Can't get there. Muntahaa and Jim Crowley now come sweeping through to take it up off Weekender. They're 3 lengths clear of See the Line. And Muntahaa is galloping on strongly. Drawing clear in the shadows of the post. The former champion Jim Crowley strikes in the Sky Bet Ebor. And Muntahaa runs right to win.
Whatsoever, good win, great ride, but good merit in the win and strength of the line. I'm a little bit concerned that he doesn't have that dash of a Magic Circle, a Yucatan, a best solution, and that may just put him behind the 8 ball, but I'm not penning him at all. I think he's definitely a winning chance, but I'm probably having him as 2nd, 3rd and 4th. I definitely think he runs well here. Muntahaa, it's a shame that he hasn't had a run here also, and got no real query over him running the trip. I think he's one that looks pretty safe, even though he's not being tested either, past 27.87, which is what that win there was there. But as you can see, he sort of was building off it and wasn't stopping. Soundcheck we've looked at. He was in that best solution race behind Holmes and Clicks and More, I think they call it. This horse really needs to find something, and not a horse I want to spend too much time on. Who Shot the Barman comes out of the Moonee Valley Cup. quick look at it because Ventura Storm and it were both in the race. So he was sort of shuffled back here. Ventura Storm box seated. It was hard to run on. Ventura Storm obviously aided by that. I think Red Cardinals in here drops out too. So they're the three out of this race. We'll get to the business end, and Ventura Storm's right in a nice position here. Who Shot the Barman's not, and Red Cardinal was up here and drops out. So they're the two we're kind of looking at. Who Shot the Barman in the orange and white. Ventura Storm moving into the race nicely at the ideal time. See Who Shot the Barman trying to weave through. Held up a touch, gets a nice little run through here and runs on, whereas Ventura Storm puts the race away. Not super impressively, obviously had the right run. From a Melbourne Cup perspective, I probably want to be with Who Shot the Barman over Ventura Storm, and if anything, I probably wanted to be with this admiration over the two of them who just missed out on the spot, but they can both run top half. I think Ventura Storm's not proven the distance. Who Shot the Barman obviously is. Big edge to him of the two. Trying to just knock the two of them over the one stone here because that's probably their best lead-up run. And it was fast time, and the horse did sit up on a fast speed Ventura Storm, which is a good effort, but there was a pretty significant advantage to be up and in on the day. Ace High we've looked at. He looked to be building into his preparation really well until last start. He was given a good ride at Randwick 2 starts ago, and then last time he struck that wet track and leading and really didn't do his best. I don't know whether it was the track or there was another excuse, but you'd expect him to have to really turn his form right around. Hasn't even been tested outside of a 3-year-old grade over the 2,500 metres and run well. So his last run was over 2,400, but he didn't really run it out as we saw. So he's a big query and really needs to turn around. He's entitled to be big odds. Marmello's a horse that we certainly need to spend a couple of seconds about. He ran in the Melbourne Cup last year. We'll have a quick look at that. Mellow. So he was in a good spot last year. He was sort of just tracking those leaders. This is Marmello. He was in a good spot throughout. One out, one back. He pops out sort of at about the 600 or 700, I think, to roll into the race. This is him now outside the leader. So he led them up into the straight, which is a good effort considering, you know, it's always a pretty solidly run race. They only ran sort of even time here. It was an advantage to be up and in the inside here, so he was in a good position, but you can see that he was quickly under pressure and sort of 400 metres from home. He was not a beaten horse, but he was outsprinted by the flashier types. I expect something similar to that to happen again here. I know that he's racing quite well this time in, and he's probably an improved horse, but you can see that he was quite well beaten here and really did have his chance in what wasn't a fast run Melbourne Cup. He found a good position, found a good spot to roll into. They didn't run fast time overall, and it's hard to see this race being a lower quality affair than that one. So he's open to improvement. We'll have a quick look at his replays this time in. So that was Muntahaa. This is Marmello winning, I believe, 2 starts ago.
And Shamers
trying to find the right race. He's always good.
That was Kitesurf who stayed on, and back in 5th home, number 3. That was Kitesurf, Michael Barcelona just riding along on that at the moment. Okay. And Ice Breeze will be making a move from the rear under Vance and Cheminot. But in the home straight, it's Mile out in front. Marmello in second position. Algomita making an effort in third, followed by Palom. Kitesurf under pressure. And then came Ice Breeze, but inside the closing stages, Marmello bidding to go one better than this race last year. Algomita's giving chase. Palom, but also on the inside there's Mile. These 4 cleared the moment from Kitesurf, but it's Marmello for Huey Morrison out in front. Algomita trying to close, but it's Marmello from Algomita. Palom was third, and they were clear of Kites.
He's just going to beat them with his toughness. That was Longchamp. This was Deauville, his next start, when
goes through it and picks up the lead. Old Tassie Green and Marmello are the next 2. They're followed in turn weather track to move onto the pursuit yellow. As does not need to follow that one. No move from the Fabre pair. The advantage is long on the outside. Leaned there on the inner as they go to the 500 and takes full advantage and goes through it and picks up the lead. Now Marmello is in pursuit with nearly caught. Behind these then Mile up on the outside, and Sumion is working hard on Marmello. Whole Tassie Green has the lead. Marmello is now pulled out to try and challenge, but Whole Tassie Green is showing by a couple of lengths, and Marmello is hanging towards the outside, and it's still Whole Tassie Green from Marmello and nearly caught and Casperton, and Whole Tassie Green is going to lower the colours of Marmello. Marmello. Holt Tassie Green's won it. Marmello in second and back in third, nearly caught.
Really
so win for number 4, Holt Tassie Green.
Villiers is a really tough horse to evaluate. You've got to draw a line in him and say he's a highly brilliant galloper. He's got a great turn of foot, and what's interesting about him is for the turn of foot he's only ever really won races by narrow margins. Obviously, we'll have a look at this race here, the Bart Cummings.
And racing clear is Harris.
A really good ride.
The inside for the time being, given a reminder, and then well back is Jarmay with also to the outside.
He pushes out at the right time, never loses any momentum. What he kind of did lose here is his electric turn of foot. He has got a small turn of foot here. Jameer is a good yardstick for this race. Came out with beat yesterday in the Alexa Stakes, so this is definitely not the strongest form line leading into this race. I love that he toughed it out, but you see, he wasn't a horse you were super certain would be holding on over an extra 700 metres. He's got a lovely turn of foot. He's got to be put to sleep if he doesn't over race and everything goes his way. He did run in the Cox Plate as well, which we'll have a quick look at because Rostopovich. So Rostopovich lobs outside the leader. He's down the bottom, number 24. He did a bit of work to get there. I love that they sort of didn't cuddle him too much. They gave him a nice beat out here and tried to really get him ready for the Melbourne Cup. To me, that says he was probably underdone and probably needed the run and also probably needed a bit of seasoning. So I'm not that keen on Rostopovich, but it's good to see him do a bit here, whereas Villiers was just given a very quiet time of it in the early part, dragged out to last and allowed to work home. You can see he's sort of held up in between runners here, which is not ideal for him, and not a bad effort to sort of run fourth behind the likes of Winks, Ben Battle, Humidor, and then whacked away. But you can see it's not a run of a horse that you want to be really finding coming into a Melbourne Cup. He's not building through the line. He's just a solid effort. I know they wouldn't have been too worried about it. It was certainly not a race that was a target race. It was just a tick over run to get him ready for this. So Villiers, again, another one that I'm probably not keen to have in the top, but he can run well. Yucatan, forgetting his form provider coming here, he just looks a horse that was a project horse. He was obviously very talented early in his career, and they've chosen to get him ready for this race and try and beat the handicapper. He arrived with the 52 kilo weight allotment and was penalised for 2.5 kilos for winning just a Group 2 race here. And what you'll see is that he drew horribly here, which he draws horribly again, so it's interesting to watch what he does at the start here. He's out wide, so he's just given time to balance up and work in behind them. He's back here, he's back last, basically early, second or third last, I think. Officially they sort of had him down as soon as the race settles, he's allowed to stride around them. They didn't go slow here, they went quick, so you know, sometimes they can slacken tempo off mid-race and a horse can make an early move. He can then not spend too much petrol to get from a negative position out the back to a positive position up the front. So that's not the case here, is what I'm trying to say. They're running along, and this horse is making ground against that tempo. So what it's done to get to third is plenty of work, is what I'm trying to say. He's then able to put them away here at the push of a button. The horses to highlight here are Prince of Arran and Brigham Rocks, who come out and ran well in the Lexus, winner, and ran second in the Lexus yesterday. So obviously this form's held up quite well, and what this horse has done from here, I just want to, he's already worked to get to here, so he's made one run. Now he's doing this. So arguably you could say he's made a 700 metre run, obviously most of it under little pressure, but for a horse to be push button like this and to go bang, obviously he's caught them a little bit by surprise, which is incredible in itself. I think he would probably caught the leader by surprise the way he quickened, but when you put such a margin on these horses in such a small amount of time, he's entitled to get tired late, and what scares you is he doesn't switch the horse off, he doesn't cruise to the line, he physically eases the horse down, so he actually pulls him up there and grabs hold of him, which is a little bit dangerous for mine, but hard to tell what the horse has got in reserve as it sort of of builds through the line, you'd say, well, he would have won by 10, would he won by 6, would he won by 4, would he have continued through the line? You can't tell. Like, I like to watch them through the line here when they show this shot going ahead, and obviously it's hard to tell what the horse had left, but he's made a long run, he's accelerated, he's done everything you want to see from a high quality horse. He was penalised 2.5 kilos, he only gets in with 54.5 here. The more I look at that replay, the more I love it, the more I love the horse. I don't care about anything he's done prior. I'm nearly not even caring about him not having a 3,200 metre run under his belt. He's made it like an 800, 900 metre run there on a fast tempo. They've run quick time. What more can you ask from a horse? The only question mark is that he's eased him down late, and you don't know whether he's going to run the 3,200 metres strongly. He's drawn gate 23. I think that'll mean we'll get a $7 or $8 price instead of a $4.50 price. And the more I watch it, the more I'm going to definitely have something on it, and there's no doubt that it goes in for me in win and place. In trifectas, quinellas, exactas, exotic, first fours, whatever you're doing, quadrellas, this horse cannot be left out. I know this is 30 minutes in, so we'll try and get rid of some of these horses. Orvray, good solid form. His form's on dry tracks. You totally forgive that last run. So sort of a length and a half. We've got that Brigham Rocks pointer there. He's run third, fourth in a Sydney Cup. He's got some quality about him, but he's probably lacks enough to really get deep into the finish here. The drier the track, the better for this horse. It'll run positively. I'd say it's a good chance to run top half. It's definitely not the worst horse in the race, but I can't have it winning. And probably leave it at that. Finch will show quickly that he's running the Geelong Cup, so he's the white cap, white nose here. He was 80 days between runs here, first run for the Waller camp, and makes a nice enough early move here. He's forced a little bit wide, so he doesn't quicken at all, which is a worry. He whacks away. He's a horse that could possibly whack away into a position, but like I'm talking between third and eighth or something like that. I can't really see him troubling the winners. He's got some solid enough form back in the UK. He's obviously been beaten 7 lengths there by Cracksman and 4.5 lengths by Cracksman over 2,400 metres. That's good form. He probably needs a wet track to show his best. I doubt he's going to get enough sting out of the ground, but he looks well prepared. He looks like he's settled in well, and I could definitely throw him in for, say, fourth in first fours, and that's about it. Red Cardinal, we watched him drop out in the Moonee Valley Cup. Can't have him even with the blinkers applied. Venga Mask, similar. He was just beaten too far behind Best Solution off a slow tempo. He was beaten too far at big odds by Avilius. He was beaten by Night's Watch. He's only ever won sort of 2,500 metre Group 3s, and that was when he was on pace. I don't think he can get away with a race like this, so I'm leaving him out. Ventura Storm, we've talked about. Its run in the Moonee Valley Cup was full of merit, but it did have things in its favour. I like that it did race a little bit closer though. Draws nicely, so you'd expect it to run a positive race, but it's just a matter of whether it can run the 32 out in strong fashion. Actually, another horse I'd probably throw in for fourth at absolute best. I like this horse, the Prince of Arran. He's got some solid enough form back home, obviously not as deep as some of them, but he ran sort of 6 behind Magic Circle in one of those races we watched at Chester. I think that's good enough to run top 4. His effort first up was very good. He was left flat-footed and in the wrong spot, and was really starting to build his revs. Yesterday, he was a strong winner off a slow tempo, perfect ride. I'm just treating that as an absolutely perfect ideal setup coming into this race on the 3-day backup. He's drawn poorly. He needs a bit of luck from there. He was given a great ride yesterday, so anything like that, again, he's the wild card. I'm not saying he can't win, and I'm definitely throwing him in Quinellas, Trifectas, Exactas, first fours. We'll have a quick look, at that run for people who haven't seen it.
Trained by Charlie
so he was just put straight into a good position out of the gate. This is him here, fourth.
And is the
He comes into the race nicely. He's already up there. So this is him coming around the fourth. Northwest Passage, similar colours. He's got a little turn of foot, and then he maintains it. I'm not saying that he's got a brilliant turn of foot, and you wouldn't expect anything to show see, there's his extend, so he does have a turn of foot, there's no doubt about that. The second horse here, Ring and Rocks, is a really talented type who's got some really strong, consistent form, and he was never going to get past him. I actually really like this horse, Prince of Aaron. I think he's actually a knockout winning chance the more I look at it. So I like this horse, Prince of Aaron. Nikita can't have it all. Beaten 15 lengths behind Ventura Storm in the Moonee Valley Cup. Impossible to come into it off that. Did run in this race 12 months ago. Was a solid enough fifth, but did pinch runs up the inside from back in the pack and never really looked like running into it at all. I don't think it's in the same form, and I'm happy to risk it. Sir Charles Road, third in the Bendigo Cup, which was running fast time. I'm not knocking the horse, but its form doesn't look deep enough to really trouble these. It is beaten 1.5 lengths. Sorry, it was beaten a length in the Sydney Cup. It was beaten, 1.4 in the, I'd say that was an Auckland Cup earlier this year. So it runs the trip. It's not drawn horrifically. It's far from the worst in the race, but it's entitled to be a price here. Zacata is entitled to be the roughie of the field, beaten 8, 8, 7, 10 at huge odds in its last few runs. Runaway, we saw it in the Geelong Cup. I didn't really show the end of the race, just to show how he sort of was through the line here. So he's in front. He's kicked on strongly. He's a winner of a St Ledger, a 3-year-old 2,800 metre race at Flemington. He's now a winner of a Geelong Cup. He's an on-pace, one-dimensional type. But he's got a big heart, and he'll probably lead him up here for a long way, but he's never seen anything like this. He's never seen a 24-horse field. He's never seen anything with a pressure of a Melbourne Cup, and he's probably in for a bit of pain. He's running a 3,200 metre listed race and knocked up off a soft tempo there. That was as a 3-year-old. Obviously more season now, but 17, 2, 24, up to 32. It is Gay Waterhouse, and she's a miracle worker, but she needs to find some sort of miracle to get this horse home. Young Star is a horse that I've got plenty of time for. Don't really think we need to show the replay of Winks over 2,000 metres. I love the build-up it's had, 14, 15, 2,000, 24. I've seen the replay of this horse where it got back to the hopeless position it was in. I think it's a better horse on top of the ground, so that'll suit it here, hopefully. Only 51 kilos, which is what it carried, 51.5 in the Caulfield Cup. I think this horse is a real knockout. I know it needs a good ride. It's drawn okay. Craig Williams has never sat on the horse before, which is a little bit of a query, and it's a bit interesting that Kerrin McAvoy gets off it to ride Charlie Appleby's horse here, but that is a little worry and a little question mark for me. But this is a good horse, Young Star, and she just looks like she wants to stay, and I think she'll just keep coming off a quiet ride, and she's a knockout chance. Definitely goes in second, third, fourth in Cornella's Trifecta's exactas as well. Probably only a minor winning chance, but it is a knockout chance. Now we've got Cross Counter, bandages on, 76 days since last seen. A couple of replays of this horse. Beaten behind Baghdad here. So why I wanted to show this King George V stakes is simply because it was the only time it's been in a big field.
Wide outside, Downdraft in the white. It's a length and a half ahead of those is the white sleeves of Downdraft, and Lisheen Castle's in company with them as well. Sent from the rear of the field after the leaders. Baghdad and Corgi are either side of first 11. Bailey's Accelerator still there. Downdraft behind those. Occupy and Cross Counter in the blue still have a chance. Baghdad, Andrea Zeni leading now to Corgi, and Jim Crowley with a purple sleeve jacket. Then first 11, Frankie on the running rail, heading towards the line. Baghdad is trying to fend off Corgi. Here comes first 11. Oh, very tight. Baghdad first 11 and Corgi for 2 lengths.
Nothing too scary. Then we go to Goodwood. Again, we'll show
in the centre, coming through to Chateau. Bombix is a length and a half behind him. Sun Maiden, she's still just the back marker of the quartet. Just a little unbalanced as they begin running downhill. So heading towards the home straight. On the left in blue, Cross Counter. On the right in silver, DXB. There's very little between them. Bombix is still behind him in third. Sun Maiden, 3 parts of a length, but used to lead. Those vision, Cross Counter. Bombix, Cross Counter has seen them all
off. He's extended now. He's 4 lengths clear. Inside the last furlong, it's Cross Counter and William Buick who are striding towards the line for a wide margin win in the Qatar Gordon Stakes. Godolphin winner as Cross Counter wins. DXB was second. Bombix in third. Sun Maiden behind in fourth.
So Godolphin's
but what was he up against? This is his latest run. This is the Voltigeur Stakes.
Muldoon ahead of the Pentagon.
Another places and field.
Of the bend, and Nelson is beside Wells Fargo with a swift-moving company with Cross Counter as the race develops. Kew Gardens with a little bit of catch-up to do, as out in front, Old Persian, White and the Godolphin Fargo, Savannah Star. Kew Gardens is travel. Old Persian out in front from Cross Counter. Kew Gardens has 3 lengths to find, then Wells Fargo. Old Persian digging in for James Doyle. Cross Counter for William Buick. Kew Gardens has still got 2 lengths to find. Old Persian now in front, closing on the run to the line is Cross Counter. Old Persian just about last. Old Persian leads over Godolphin 1-2. Beating Cross Counter. In third place is Kew Gardens 4.
Overall, I'm not real sure. This is the horse that Karen McAvoy's riding. I'm a little bit surprised he's got off Young Star, as I said, to ride it, but I think they're both similar chances. I'd probably rather be on Young Star, but I'd say they're probably sort of 20 to 1 chances in the race.
Callum O'Donoghue and dropped in Giuseppe Garibaldi and Emmett McNamara. 7.5 furlongs to go round toward the Rostropovich, another length. British Derby. They're racing up towards the finish. Then Calixana, Stellar Mass, round the outside the King, and then Giuseppe Garibaldi racing on up the straight with 2 to go, and Rostropovich takes up the lead. Heads Master of Reality, the King on the outside. Giuseppe Garibaldi is staying on towards the far side, then Stellar Mass and Calixana, but it's Rostropovich in front with a furlong to go. Chased by stable companion Giuseppe Garibaldi. The King's not out of it on the near side. They're racing up towards the finish. Rostropovich from Giuseppe Garibaldi and the King. Rostropovich wins it from Giuseppe Garibaldi and the King. A 1-2 for
out of the ground. I want to back off that replay. Cross Counter's never been past 1.5 miles, so 2,400 metres. That's his worry for mine. Obviously, Young Star's in a very similar mould. They've both got similar weights. Cross Counter's drawn poorly. Again, I think this horse is probably a 3rd or 4th at best. I think Rostropovich is 4th at best. Young Star's definitely a sort of a knockout chance from a better draw, and I think it's just got a little bit more upside. So just quickly recapping on it, I really like Best Solution. I think it's a horse that needs to prove that it gets the trip, but it gets the right run and should run well. Magic Circle, love it, love it, love it. Just has to handle this 166 days off. Muntahaa, very similar. Looks a horse that's going to build through its gears. The edge to Magic Circle over Muntahaa, but a horse that just extended nicely late, and it's going to run the 3,200. I like that. Marmello is a horse that looks like it's probably going to sit on the tempo, on the speed, and whack away nicely, but I think he's a level below those couple, and he has a nice draw. Yucatan's just looks all over a freak to me. That was just an incredible win, and I've got to have it on top, regardless of not knowing what it was going to do there late, and regardless of not knowing if it can run the 3,200 metres out. Heading down further, I like Prince of Ariane's setup. I think he's building up nicely for a career best effort coming into this race. He's obviously thriving in Australia. And then we're talking Young Star, Cross Counter. But for me, I think the 3 main winning chances clearly Best Solution, Magic Circle, and Yucatan. Then from Muntahaa, Marmello. Who else have we got? Young Star, a clear knockout down the bottom. And I'm throwing in Cross Counter and Cliffs of Moher for minor placing. So I think they're the 3 clear main winning chances, to be honest. I really do. I just loved Best Solution's effort in the lead up. And I think that Magic Circle's the query runner that's worth taking the punt with 166 days over Muntahaa. I think it's got the pick of the 2 of those. And this horse Yucatan just could be anything. I'll throw my numbers up here at the end of it. I'll throw my written write-up as well with any links that I send out. So any queries, john@racingwatch.com.au, anything, anytime, any other races. Hopefully you got something out of this. I know it goes for way too long, but it's one race a year that everybody really wants to have a look at, and hopefully, I've covered most bases and given you a hand in some way to figure out one of the hardest races of the year. Cheers, guys. Thank you.